What if the thing you've been trying to fix about yourself is actually the very thing you were designed to lead with? Hi, I'm Denise, and this is What You Think and Who You Are Called to Be. Today, I want to talk about something that quietly shapes how we show up in every area of our lives, and that's the pressure to be everything. Scripture reminds us in Romans 12:6 that we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. Different, not deficient, distinct by design. Many of us carry this unspoken expectation that we're supposed to be well-rounded, balanced, good at everything. We think, if I was more organized, if I were more relational, if I were more strategic, then I'd finally be effective. So we spend years trying to improve the areas that don't come naturally to us, and we start to see our limits as weaknesses, even failures. What if that's not the truth? My journey from Trinidad to the United States wasn't just about moving from one place to another. It was a journey of identity. Growing up in Trinidad, I knew who I was, I knew how I thought, I knew where I fit. There was a rhythm to life there that felt natural to me, the way people communicated, the way community worked, the way I moved through the world. And then I arrived in the United States. And suddenly, the way I naturally showed up didn't always land the way I expected it to. I had to learn new and unspoken rules, new ways of communicating, new definitions of what it meant to be professional, capable, credible. And somewhere in the process of adapting, I started to lose track of what was genuinely me and what was just performance. There were moments I felt like I had to adjust who I was in order to belong. Moments I questioned whether the way I naturally think was something I needed to overcome. And it wasn't until I began to understand my own design that something started to shift. That shift is what I want to share with you. What if your natural way of thinking, your tendencies, your instincts, your lean is not something to fix, but something to understand? I believe that how you think is not random, it's intentional. It reflects something specific about how you were created to show up, lead, and serve. So before I walk you through this, I want to take a quick moment to share something. The framework I'm about to introduce is rooted in something called the HBDI, the Human Brain Dominance Instrument. HBDI is a registered trademark of Human International. I am a certified practitioner, and what you're going to hear from me, the archetypes I've named, the spirit lens, the way I've connected this to scripture and calling. This is my own interpretation and application of this framework. It does not represent the official position of Human International. Okay, with that said, let's get into it. The framework I'm going to introduce describes 4 thinking ways of thinking, and I want you to pay attention as I walk through them, because one of these is going to feel like home. So the first one is the truth seeker, and in the framework, this is represented by the color blue. This is someone who leads with logic, clarity, and analysis. You ask hard questions. You want to know what's actually true before you move. You are the person in the room who doesn't get swept up in enthusiasm because you're too busy making sure the foundation is solid. That is a gift. The second is the faithful steward, represented by green. This is someone who leads with structure, process, and follow through. You take vision and you turn it into a plan. You are the reason things actually get done. Without you, great ideas stay on whiteboards. This is a gift. The third is the compassionate anchor, represented by red. This is someone who leads with empathy and relationship. You feel what others miss. You notice when someone in the room isn't okay. even when they haven't said a word. You remind everyone that all of this work is ultimately about people. Again, that's a gift. And the fourth is the visionary architect, represented by yellow. This is someone who leads with possibility and big picture thinking. You see what could be before anyone else can imagine it. You carry hope. You inspire movement. This is a gift. Now, here's what I want you to hear. You were not designed to be all four equally. You have a natural lean, a way of thinking that feels more effortless, more energizing, more like you. And many of us, that lead is exactly what we've been apologizing for. Think of it this way, right? So in a steel pan yard in Trinidad, the magic isn't in a single note. It's in the arrangement, the high-pitched frontline pans dancing with the deep grounding rhythm of the bass. Your design is like one of those steel pans. You aren't meant to play the whole melody alone. You are meant to master your specific note. And when the whole panyard comes together, each pan playing its part, the music is full, resonant, and exactly as God intended. The challenge is, many of us have spent years hiding our natural being. Maybe you've been told you're too emotional, you're too detailed, you overthink, or you're too big picture. So instead of developing your strength, you've been trying to dilute it. But here's what I want you to hear. Your differentness is not a defect. It is a design. Again, your differentness is not a defect, it's a design. It's the specific portion of God's character that He entrusted to you for the sake of others. But what if the very thing you've been minimizing is actually part of your calling? Right? So what if the very thing you've been minimizing is actually part of your calling? I want you to sit with this question, and I want us to take it straight into the Word together. So if you have my book, Called into Confidence, flip to the end of chapter 1 to the devotional called Accepting My Design. We're going to walk through it together right here. And even if you don't have the book, stay right here. This is for you too. So, the scripture is 1 Corinthians 12:18, and it says, "But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as He wanted them to be." Notice what the verse does not say. It doesn't say God placed them where they were most efficient. It doesn't say He placed them where they best fit organizational needs. He says God placed them exactly where He wants them to be. That means your cognitive lean, the way you mind naturally engages the world, is not an accident. It's part of your design, right? And so again, the scripture is 1 Corinthians 12:18. "But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as He wanted them to be." So as you read through the 4 archetypes that I mentioned earlier, the truth seeker, the faithful steward, the compassionate anchor, and the visionary architect, did you relate to one more personally than the others? The one that you just said, that's me, right? You just know it quietly. Now consider this. Have you ever apologized for being too much of that? Too analytical, too structured, too emotional, too imaginative? Have you ever tried to soften, hide, or reshape that part of you just to feel more acceptable? What if the very thing you've been minimizing is the very thing God intended to use? So in the book, I walk you through a full practice around this, and I don't want to rush it here because it really deserves your full attention. So what I will say is this. There's a specific exercise at the end of chapter 1 that helps you identify exactly how your natural lean has been showing up as a gift in your life, often in ways you haven't even recognized yet. So if you don't have Called into Confidence yet, this would be a really good moment to grab it. The devotional at the end of every chapter is designed to take you deeper than we can go in a video, and this is available on Amazon. So this week, I want you to reflect on one question. What is one part of how you think that you've been apologizing for? Again, what is one part of how you think that you've been apologizing for that might actually be something you are meant to steward? Sit with that, write it down, let it be honest. You don't need to become everything. You are called to understand what's already been placed within you and learn how to walk in it with confidence. I'll see you in the next video.